Dr. Amy.
Stoked to be here, guys.
Is that what you go by? Dr. Amy? Or Dr. Actually don't know how Tarquini?
Yeah.
Tarquini.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I just tell people to call me Amy. But I think Dr. Amy is what I should say.
Yeah, 'cause you're a doctor.
Yeah.
You did it. You
I
did
know.
medical school.
Where did you go to school?
I went to school in Portland, Oregon.
Oh, yeah.
At the National University of Natural Medicine at UNM.
And then you got your master's degree in Portland as well?
So I did my undergraduate in South Carolina, actually, and then I went to Portland for my naturopathic doctorate.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't have a master's.
And then I noticed it says, what's a CNS?
Oh, that stands for Certified Nutrition Specialist.
Oh, okay.
Which is something that I got when I thought I was going to be doing a lot of coaching with people in other states outside of just Oregon, because my license only applied to people in that state.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, it's basically like a certification that allows me to give nutrition advice to people.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, do you want to kind of tell us a little bit about what you do and your day-to-day stuff and your online like courses and things?
Yeah, so I have a couple different hats I'm wearing right now. I do work as a naturopathic doctor at a couple different clinics in San Diego. I work at one called Wellness Lounge, where I mainly do naturopathic things with them, like mind-body medicine, gut health, women's health. I do a lot of hormones, and also craniosacral therapy and some vitamin injections there. And then I work at another clinic where I'm doing hormone replacement, mainly with like menopause and perimenopausal individuals. And then separately, I am working on building my own business, so much more of a emotional mind-body medicine focus there. And yeah, I just created my first course, which Erica's in, that's why I'm looking at her.
It was amazing. Recommend.
It was called Nourishing Your Rhythm, and it's all about nourishing your rhythm, getting back into your own kind of body, feeling like you have agency in the healthcare world, because I feel like that's what I see my goal as now, is really just more of a teacher, just giving people information based on schooling and my clinical experience and my personal experience. And yeah, I think that people tend to like that more than just like a 7-minute visit where someone just tells you what's wrong with you.
Yeah,
so
definitely. What
how did you get into this?
Yeah, like what sparked this interest?
Yeah, personally, I've been like in and out of healthcare offices since I was like really little. Like I had migraines when I was 6, and so that was like my first experience like interfacing with the healthcare system. And then I was diagnosed with psoriasis when I was like 13 or 14. And by the time I was 20, I talk about this in my course. By the time I was 20 or 21, I can't really remember. But I started taking Humira, which is a injectable biologic medication. And that really helped me in the moment. But I had a lot of side effects from it. So I had to stop taking it halfway through. Actually, my very last shot was like right when I graduated ND school. So that was how my interest in mind-body medicine came to be, because I started like really diving into the emotions behind it, and stress management was a big one for me. Mm-hmm. But the whole natural medicine kind of came as I was doing my own journey of healing. Even back in undergrad, I was like, oh, there's a doctor that can learn nutrition and
do all these
counseling
things
and herbs in addition to all the other stuff. So yeah.
I think it's like more preventative what you do than like when you go to a doctor now. It's like, because usually something's very wrong.
Yeah. And
you're trying to like fix it. Whereas I feel like with what you're teaching, at least, it's like to help you not have to even get to that point, because you're already taking care of yourself beforehand.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, in this country, we have a sick care system as opposed to actually a healthcare system. So we focus on disease and disease management for the majority of things, but we don't really talk about like what health even looks like. Is it just the absence of disease, or like does it have a whole other group of characteristics that go with it? Which I would answer yes. Yeah. But like you don't really hear about that. So yeah, like humor, curiosity, creativity, all those things tend to be traits that people who are like healthy have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could talk about this all day.
I know,
I
me
love
too.
it. Honestly, it's the best.
Well, we wanted to focus specifically on like cycles and periods, and I think, at least for myself, that was really why I wanted to take your course, because I feel like I have no knowledge around it, which is crazy to me as like a woman who experiences that I'm just like, this is something that's like happening to me.
Yeah.
And like I'm in pain and I don't know how to help
anything.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like, to kick us off, what do you think is the biggest misconception people have around periods?
Yeah, I would say, so I'm really passionate about women's health too, because similar to you, I was like, how have I been on this thing for 10 years and I don't even know what it's doing? I would say, this is a big truth bomb, I would say the biggest misconception that people have is that being on birth control regulates your cycle, that it fixes your cycle. Because you aren't cycling at all when you're on birth control. There are, like, I don't think it's necessarily all bad. Like, I think the idea that women have agency over whether or not they want to get pregnant is, like, something that is cool and is a good point to make. But it's not fixing your cycle. So, like, the whole idea of informed consent, like, you're taking it, but you are aware of these risks, I feel like a lot of people don't have. They just don't know what it's actually doing or how it's actually working. And so then they come off of it after like a decade and then they want to get pregnant and they're like, oh, there's all these things that have been percolating underneath the surface that I never addressed because I didn't know I needed to. And I thought this was fixing it. And now here I am.
Sounds familiar.
I know, I'm like,
okay.
Yeah, I mean, I know all of this because like I also experienced it too.
Yeah.
Even switching from my oral birth control to my IUD, I was like, I had a ton of like benefit just from switching from like the oral to the IUD. So we can talk about that too if you guys want.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that now?
Well, I'm currently on the pill, and I switched over. So I've been on the pill since like I can remember. But when I moved to Australia, I knew that I wasn't gonna have like a doctor, so I couldn't get I wasn't gonna get 2 years supply of birth control. So then I went and got an IUD, and I think I'm like the only one on the planet who had like the worst experience with an IUD. I hated it,
so.
and
I
it
feel
was
like a lot
like
of people,
it was not. And I've heard that too. I guess like it's either you really really love it or you really really hate it, and I happen to be in like the really really hate it, all of it, every time, everything. Yeah. I feel like only recently, like something was in my mind that was like, I don't know if I want to take the pill anymore. And then, you know, talking about that with like parents or other friends who may not know or have that information, we're like, please don't stop, because of the same thing. It regulates, it helps, and then it stops you from getting pregnant with like, not that I live a crazy lifestyle, but I'd like to not get pregnant. And so that's kind of like where I'm at right now. What's going on with you?
I don't know. When did I get my ID in? I got it like 3 years ago now. But I had been on birth control. I got on birth control because my dermatologist, when I was like 14, told me it would help with my acne. And I had like horrible acne, and I was in middle school. I was embarrassed. I wanted to like not have pimples all over my face.
Yeah. Understandably so.
And I had tried like all the like topical stuff, which had really like dried my skin out. And so then and like with swimming, being in the chlorine and using like that like
horrible like
benzoperoxide.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure.
Whatever, peroxide something all over my face. My skin was like just falling off. And I had really, 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 really bad cramps. And so both of those things went away when I got on birth control. And so I've been taking the pill since I was like 14. And then similar to you, when I moved abroad, I got off of it, but I wasn't taking anything. And then my cramps came back, and I was like cramps where I'm like, I need to like lay in a ball and like I feel like I'm going to throw up type of thing.
Oh my God.
And so to solve that, I shoved an IUD in. And I feel like I've just like been feeling like I want it out of me. Like I'm like, I don't want this here, and like I'm not in a relationship anymore. I'm not having like regular intercourse, so like I'm not worried about getting pregnant.
Yeah.
Don't worry. Nothing's happening. And I'm scared. But you gave me this book.
Yeah.
Repair manual.
I'm obsessed with that book. And also, honestly, Lara Briden in general. She's a ND out of Australia, actually.
Oh, well, there you go. Perfect.
But yeah, that's like my journey, I guess, with birth control and periods. And all through all of this, I feel like the only thing I really have ever known is like you get it once a month and you get it because you're not pregnant. It's like releasing the egg or whatever.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah, that's honestly like I would have said it the same way. I'm like, that's all I know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean there's not a whole lot of information around it. Which is like part of the reason I was like, I just kept like gobbling up information like this because I was like, oh, I didn't learn this, and like I can't believe I've been doing this my whole life. And especially now that I work at like a hormone clinic, I'm like, we would never give men something to shut off testosterone.
Yeah,
but that's exactly what we do when we give people birth control. They're not making progesterone by design.
Yeah,
I literally just learned that in your course. I had no idea.
Yeah, it's wild. You would think I like always kind of thought the opposite, or I don't know. I guess I never even like thought about it like that.
I thought it like regulates your hormones.
Yeah,
like,
you were acting. It was normal. It was just wasn't so like crazy. I guess I feel like I was told that too. Like I didn't have like cramps or anything, but like as a teenager, your mood swings on top of having like a period were just all over the place. So like not only was I being told to be put on like antidepressants, but then on birth control would kind of like help regulate. So that's, I just automatically associate it with like regulation, positive regulation.
Yeah, it's wild. And what's also wild is that birth control separately like depletes a lot of nutrients that are really essential for your mood, like B9 and B12, which is like B9 is folate, and B12 and B6, which is necessary to make dopamine, and like all these neurotransmitters. And so you end up getting this cycle where like you feel like it's helping you, and then like slowly your body's like losing these nutrients that you actually need to actually have a happy mood.
Oh, lovely.
We'll talk more. But yeah, I mean, that's why just like the educational piece, like obviously as a naturopathic doctor, I like to look at root cause. But there are things that you can do to certainly like feel better in the moment, like being on like a good quality B vitamin.
Yeah.
If you're on a birth control, getting on a good form of magnesium kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's ironic that they tell people, especially like vulnerable people who are like, I'm in a lot of pain. That's why I went on birth control. I was having really bad cramps. She talks about how when you first get your menses, they call it menarche, you like that just might be a painful time, but it might not always be painful because your body's kind of acclimating to all of these new hormonal shifts. So I think just even if I had that knowledge at the time, that this is your experience right now, these are some things we can do to support you, but it probably won't be like this.
Yeah. I
wouldn't have been so scared to come off birth control after a decade. Because I was like, oh, that was just my body kind of turning on.
Yeah. So can we dive deeper into like the science of the period and like what's actually happening in your body?
Yeah, so I wish I had a whiteboard behind me. I'm doing my best. So
we can put up graphics like this is for here. Yeah.
So it's really like truly a symphony that happens every month. The first half of your cycle is, so depending on who you talk to, you have two phases. You have the follicular phase, which is the first phase. Follicle, egg, follicle, that's how it got that name. That's mainly like where the egg is getting like ready to be released. And then you ovulate right in the middle of your cycle. And then the second half of your cycle is the luteal phase. And depending on who you talk to, people will lump like ovulation like right in the middle there. Some people tease out menstrual phase as being like its own phase. But your menstrual cycle, the first day you have like an actual bleed is day 1. So that's kind of like an overall what's happening on like the cycle level. You also have hormones that are dominant in each phase. So in the first phase of your cycle, that's when estrogen is coursing through your body. You're feeling really good. So this is a time when it might feel good to tackle like to-do lists, do like heavier workouts. When you ovulate in the middle of your cycle, this was like such a fun fact that I learned. This is like when you're like sexiest, literally.
Love that.
So it's like it's a good time to ask for raises. It's a good time to like have tough conversations. I actually, don't quote me on the study. Maybe we need to. This was back in like AP Psych in high school that we learned this, but they actually had the same woman speak at different times in her cycle, and people would rate her as like sexier during ovulation phase, which makes sense because your body's like,
hey,
I'm ready to get pregnant. And then the second half of your cycle, if you ovulate, which is the key, is when you're making progesterone. And progesterone is, both hormones are really important, but progesterone is really important for, like, they call it the anti-anxiety hormone. It's really good for calming your brain. It's also really good for sleep. Mm-hmm. It's good for balancing out any PMS. So what happens if you don't ovulate, so if you're taking birth control, you have just like a flat amount of hormones throughout the cycle. You're not going through the cascade where you ovulate. And so it may feel like your estrogen and progesterone are imbalanced because you're not having that ovulation, which actually is how your body makes progesterone.
Interesting.
It's like so much to wrap my mind around.
So I obviously, like, I've heard and seen things on, like, this is so dumb, but, like, went on Pinterest and have, like, my own, like, I've seen graphics on, like, what you should do at different phases. So you should be doing different things during each phase?
Yeah, so this is where you can, like, really see that we're living in a male-dominated society.
Yeah.
Because we work, like, 9 to 5, 28 days, you know, a month, and it doesn't have any sort of, like, cyclical rhythm.
Right.
Which is why I came up with my course, Nourishing Your Rhythm. We get to have, like, this 28 to 34-ish day cycle where we actually are experiencing these different hormone shifts. And so it's not necessarily, like, something that you should be doing, but it's, like, gives you space to be like, oh, I feel like resting today, and actually my hormones are really low. Like, it's a good time for me to be doing, like, inward reflection versus, you know, like, this is the time of my cycle where I'm feeling like I have so much energy and I'm about to ovulate and I feel like I could take on the world. And
right.
So rather than, like, I guess I just don't really like the word, like, should, like, you have to do it like this, but I think it just creates a little bit more freedom as far as like, I tell Dan all the time, this is my hungry week. So it's okay for me to have 5 dinners today.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Because it's also, like, when I hear knowing your rhythm, it's just, like, knowing your body and what's good for it and what's not. And different stages mean different things for your body. So not that you should be resting or should not be working out, but it's just, like, hearing what your body is trying to tell you.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect.
And I was thinking this earlier, actually, when you were talking about being, like, having access to someone that can talk to you like this, is, like, your period, like, every month gives you a time to check in with your body to see, like, how are you doing, you know?
Yeah.
The American College of Gynecology and Obstetrics in 2015 released a statement that they believe that the menstrual cycle should be the 5th vital sign. 5th or 6th, depending on who you're talking to. And it was just, like, a quiet little assertion that, I mean, like, I haven't been to a conventional doctor in many years, but I don't know if, like, the last time you guys were in, if they were like, did you ovulate? Or
yeah.
So that's, like, so much information too, as far as, like, oh, this is telling me about me, as opposed to this is something that I have to fix because it's the wild, wild west.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
That's very true.
Do you want to dive into our questions?
Yeah, let's dive in.
Well, just since we're on the topic of birth control, like, obviously a lot of people take it for acne, for not getting pregnant. Like, is there a natural way to... I'm trying to lead like a leading question for you.
Yeah. So, I mean, I believe, so if you're getting acne around your cycle, to me, that's just a sign that there's something deeper that's going on, which I would want to investigate. And yeah, there's so many different things that we can do. I mean, I would talk about, so I showed you in the course, I have, like, a pyramid that I like to go with, like, the base being the most important things, and then actually, like, optimizing your hormones is, like, high up. So I want to make sure the foundations are in place. So, like, you're drinking enough water, you're nourishing yourself enough, you can actually lose your period if you eat too little. If you are not sleeping or pooping, like, we have to do that first. And then I talk about, like, balancing blood sugar and metabolism, and because if you have blood sugar spikes, then your hormones are going to downstream, they're going to be a little bit more wonky because of that. So there's so many things that I talk about in terms of, like, acne that are just much beyond the skin and birth control.
Yeah. Well, like, not just even acne, but, like, when I think of mood swings. Like, I have mood swings. I mean, they present itself, like, everybody has mood swings. They present themselves like sadness or anger and all of these things. Like, how does birth control affect that or not affect that. And like, honestly, my fear of coming off is obviously like, we could talk more about this too. Like, I don't want to get pregnant. So how do I have like sex not on the birth control? And how do I regulate, because in my mind, even though I'm hearing you say how bad birth control is, like it's engraved in my mind that it's like regulating. As far as mood swings, like how does birth control affect that?
Yeah, so essentially what birth control does is it gives you like a constant amount of, well, it depends on which kind you're on, but either like a synthetic estrogen or a synthetic estrogen-progesterone combination. And so I've heard people say like it tricks your body into thinking you're pregnant. It's not really quite that. It's more that these things sit on your receptors, and so your body's like, I don't need to have this communication between my brain and my ovaries. Like something's already happening. Okay. And so as opposed to having like a cyclical wave of hormones throughout your cycle, which are, the output is based on how your body's doing, you just have a consistent like baseline. And actually when you bleed on your birth control, it's not a real bleed, which is another misconception. Oh, great. It's like it's a withdrawal bleed, which means you are no longer taking the like synthetic estrogen or estrogen progestin combo. You are having nothing, and so that loss of hormones allows you to bleed, but it's not like a true shedding in terms of like hormonal input and feedback, which is also interesting. Yeah. I didn't know that either when I was taking it.
Because I thought I was doing the good thing by taking or not taking like the sugar pill. I mean, so like there are people that take birth control and like the pill and skip the sugar pills. I just like won't take anything for those allotted days and like have my period and then restart. Like I started on Sunday night, so today I'll start it again the new month. So it's like not a real period.
It's just bleeding,
yeah, just because you're not taking the thing that was stopping it from. That's so interesting.
Yeah. And so to go back to your question, so like if you are having mood changes, which are common based on like an estrogen progesterone wave or shift or something like that, then you're not going to have those on the birth control pill. Does that make sense? Because you won't be having those peaks in your hormones because they're just going to be like one flat line across the entire month.
Gotcha. So how do you help, we may be like jumping forward, but like how do you help, like it is, I'm like strongly considering getting off of it, but the fears of like, what I just mentioned are like kind of scaring me. Yeah. So if I do, like sometimes I just want to like stop like and just like not retake it after this like fake period that I'm having apparently. And just like not do it. What can I expect? What should I be looking out for? Should I do that before I talk to my doctor, after, even because it's just going to be like a regular doctor and I already know what they're going to say, but I feel like I should at least go tell somebody what I'm doing. I don't know what would be the process. I just threw a lot at you. So.
No, it's okay. It's good. First of all, I would say read this book.
Okay. I'll be doing that.
It's really lovely. She has questions in there as far as like how to speak with your doctor and like things to ask for. So like specifically as far as like targeted questions or support. Yeah. That book has really good resources. Okay. I would say that you could start now like supplementing all the things that birth control depletes from your body, like getting on a good B complex, the things I was saying earlier, like zinc, magnesium, selenium, Brazil nuts are like amazing. For 3 Brazil nuts a day gives you the recommended amount of selenium. Oh wow! In your body, so like things like that you can do to kind of just start to replenish, so that you like the fear is a little bit less when you start to kind of come off. Okay. And
so I shouldn't like cold turkey it.
I mean, shouldn't, Ellie. Saying should.
Oh, sorry. What would happen if I cold turkey
So it's not bad to cold turkey, and I guess it's like you're an individual. So some people come off birth control after like 10 years and they're completely fine. Okay. They don't have anything like. That was my experience. When I came off, I was like really expecting to have like a monster period. Right. And it was like very chill. And so that's why I said that thing in the beginning of like, it might have been that your body, when you were like, I don't know when you got your first period, but like 13 to 16, it might have been that at that time your body was just like, it had a whirlwind of estrogen, and so like the symptoms were really severe, and now it's not like that anymore. Right. So it might be super easy. Some people come off birth control and like they don't get their period for like 6 months or something like that, and so like that can be normal too. Is your body like you have to turn on the brain ovary communication again, because essentially that's been like interrupted. Yeah. Okay. So it's not like bad to go cold turkey. I just think if you have like fear about it already, then you can like do things to prepare yourself for success.
Right.
So
no, that's
supported.
smart. I like that. I'll be writing down a list of all the things I need.
And you, like, in your practice, to be able to determine that for someone, like, do you have them give a blood sample, or like how do you tell what they need?
So honestly, in my practice, I look at people's nutritional repleteness. I don't know if that's a word. I want people to be nutritional replete all the time. So if I look at the blood work, yeah, I can make some nutritional inferences, even just like looking at like a CBC or a complete blood count, as far as like, oh, your red blood cells are getting bigger. It looks like you probably need folate or B12. And that's something that I'm doing like across the board, not just for women that are wanting to come off birth control. Usually when people want to come off birth control, they're like, I want this done yesterday kind of thing. And so like, I just kind of guide them with like resources and information as far as like, this is what you can expect. We didn't talk about this too, but like making sure your liver and like all your organs of elimination are nice and happy would help too. So your body is just like able to snap back on. Like if you're not pooping twice a day or daily at all, like that's something that I would start with too. So it's like almost less birth control specific and more just like health specific or preventative specific.
Well, that's true too, because I think, especially living in a male-dominated world, when you think about period, it's disconnected from everything. But like when Erica and I were talking about it, like we were kind of being like, you know, very earthly about it. But it's true, like we are connected to so many things, and like because like I am one human woman that I am dealing, like it's all a part, it's all connected in some way. And I think it's hard to kind of shift into that perspective because it has been cut off. It's like a part that isn't, you know what I mean? It's like separate. It's in its own separate box that is like to be dealt with at a later time. You know what I mean? And so it's just hard to kind of retrain your brain into thinking like the what I eat is going to affect this, but it's, and my mood and my period and my phases and all these things, but like also like rest and exercise and things like that. I mean, obviously like it should be obvious, but sometimes it's forgotten about that those things can be affected or like will affect your like cycles.
Totally. And I feel like it also connects us to nature, which
Yeah.
I'm big on. Is we have this natural connection to the moon, like to the tides, like the moon
It's a mix, it's a combination. Yeah.
the moon controls like the oceans and like the tide, and it also somewhat like has this effect on like menstrual cycles, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And so
It's powerful.
yeah, it's so powerful, and it helps you feel just like connected to yourself. Like before I was like, oh, you know, my period, and I was like so like I loved how I lost my period on the IUD. I was like, I don't need this. But now I'm like, oh, this is my time where I get to like, you know, focus on how I'm like feeling, and I get to do more like introspective journal prompts and things like that. And it's also like, oh, I noticed like I skipped my period when I was really stressed and when we moved, and so like now I can tell too, like every month if my body has been like too stressed.
Oh, that's so interesting. Oh my God. I'm going to learn so much about myself.
Yeah, you will. But it's beautiful too, because it's like,
is.
you know, even just being like, oh, like I'm ovulating today. Like,
Yeah.
this is definitely the day I'm going to have this like conversation about more money. Or,
Yeah.
you know, it's just like, it starts to feel like a superpower as opposed to something that I feel like a lot of women are just like, this is awful.
Yeah.
And so it's really empowering. I think I call that weak empower. Because you get to be more in control, or not I guess I don't want to say control, but like you just know you have more agency in the process. You are familiar with
Yeah. Do you recommend any like trackers for your phase? Like if you're about to start off, like get off, you know, and you have like, how do you track?
I use the Daisy fertility monitor, which
Okay.
we're kind of like jumping ahead, but it tracks my basal body temperature. So I put it under the tongue every morning. My tongue. I don't know why I said the tongue. It's weird.
The tongue.
I put it under my tongue every morning. It's like a 90-second read. And then it gives me my temperature to the 100th of a decimal point. So something, one way to truly know if you're ovulating is your temperature should actually spike 0.5 degree Fahrenheit or almost a full degree Celsius, like 0.9. So you actually can tell if you're ovulating if you're tracking your temperature regularly. And so that device has its own app that syncs to my cycle. So I can like, you know, I can see roughly with the app based on my temperature, like where I'm going to bleed, where I'm ovulating. But I actually just recently downloaded the app Stardust. Are you guys familiar with that?
No.
It's fun.
Okay.
So it tracks your cycle either with you can like plug in your own menstrual data, or you can track yourself with the moon. So that's kind of cool, and it gives you like tips, like kind of like what I was just saying as far as like the phases, but based on the moon. So like a new moon's a good time to like, I don't have this memorized, but like do to-do lists kind of thing, or like the full moon is a good time to like let go. So it's nice to kind of have them side by side as far as like, oh, this is what I would be doing on like a lunar rhythm, and this is what I would be doing on my menstrual rhythm. And also, I don't have any friends yet, so if you guys want to be on the app and be my friend, you can see when your friends like when their cycles are. It's like a social app,
cool.
but like a cool one.
Yeah,
because then you can know too, like kind of where they might be feeling.
Yeah,
how they're feeling.
Oh, she's ovulating too. It's a good day for us to go do this thing.
That would be good.
Which, speaking of, how do you? Because I'm pretty sure Ellie and I are like synced up. If
we have to be.
Like when you live together, I know I had 3 sisters and my mom. Like I'm pretty sure we were all at the same time. But like, how does that happen?
That's a really good question. I don't know if I have an answer for it, other than that like humans are so magical. Like, when I was in my first yoga training back in 2015, I was in this like dorm room with like 13 girls, like all these bunk beds in this massive room, and I want to say 8 of us got our cycle at the same time, and I was still on birth control, so it was like powerful enough to like shift me out of that like synthetic hormone that I was taking.
That's crazy.
And I don't know really how that happens. I mean, we could start talking like quantum medicine and like
oh my gosh.
But like they've shown that like two heart cells, when you put them in a like petri dish together, they sync up. So I wonder if it has something to do with like heart coherence, and I talk a lot about heart coherence in my course, but it's like the idea that your energy field can be coherent and then can influence the energy field of another person. So I wonder if it has to do with that.
I am no scientist, nor do I have any degree like you have. But I've always thought it was like how like close you are with that person, because I can be in like a room with people that I'm like not even like close as in like I've known you for a long time, but just like sort of energy. Like if I go home and one of my sisters are on their period, it'll pull me out of my cycle, and I've been taking birth control for years. Like I haven't not had something fake in me, you know what I mean? So I'm like, how does that, I just, again, there's no science to this backing, but in my mind I just associate it with like, you have a strong pull in my life, so it's pulling me away from this stuff, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool.
And like, you don't get, this is like TMI, but you don't get your period, but when I'm around and I'm on my period, you're definitely feeling some type of way. I have passed it on to you. Like, I have 2 fake periods, one for you and one for me. Is how I envision it.
Well, I feel like it's like the eating thing. When you say it's like your eating week, I feel like we're just like,
chow down.
Yeah, all the food is gone in the house.
It really is.
Which is wild.
He's like, I think every week is you're hungry.
Yeah. I was going to say that about me before, but I was like, no.
I just like to eat. What can I say?
I'm a hungry gal.
Yeah. I did want to talk about sex, and I love sex, and we talk about it a lot.
Time.
Yeah, talk about it a lot on the podcast. So I wanted to talk about it on birth control, off birth control, kind of what the pros and cons are with it. I have like my own personal experience with it, but I wanted to know yours and your thoughts around sex on and off birth control.
Yeah, good question. So obviously I feel like the number one benefit to being like sexually active and on birth control is that you are, it's like 99 point something protective against pregnancy.
Yeah.
I would say the downside is that you might not be like turned on, your libido might change, you like we need estrogen and progesterone to help balance out like physically and also mentally. So it might feel like you have like vaginal dryness, or it might kind of feel like you're in like menopause because like your hormones aren't cycling or being created like they are supposed to be.
Right.
And so it might feel like sex is different when you're on your, I've heard of people that come off birth control and like they no longer like their partner or like their spouse because they're like,
delusional.
I I didn't have, like, I wasn't making these natural hormones, and, like, now that I am, like, I am attracted to something that's not this kind of thing.
Wow.
So I would say...
How do you explain that to your partner? You're like, listen, my person, hey.
I think it could have something to do, so, like, progestin. So, first of all, any, like, progesterone that you're taking in a birth control is not real progesterone. It's called a progestin, which is a synthetic progesterone. And it's actually more similar to an androgen, so more similar to, like, DHEA or testosterone than it is to actual progesterone. So you might start to feel like you might have more, like, mood changes or symptoms that you don't actually have when you're not taking that as well. Like, it might feel like, yeah, you might have, like, a totally different mood when you come off of it, because you're like, oh, I was taking this thing that shut off my anti-anxiety, like, happiness hormone inside my body, and now I have it.
Wow.
What about sex? Okay, this is just not science related at all. What are your guys' thoughts on having sex on your period? Like,
I've only done that with someone that I'm very close to, like a committed relationship, just because I feel like guys are fucking pussies. And I hate using that word, but I'm using it here because it's like, oh my God, blood. And it's like, oh my, if you only knew half of it, like, are you kidding me? So I don't have a problem with it. Do you?
No.
No.
When I don't have really bad cramps, it has been some of the best sex I've ever had.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. And, like, you're not really
gonna get pregnant.
I don't want to say never, but, like, the odds that you're going to get pregnant are super low.
So it's like high flying.
Yeah. So I've always been like, if there's a guy that is, which maybe I shouldn't blanket statement, but a guy that's, like, grossed out by my cycle, I'm like, well, fuck you.
Yeah.
You don't get to do this anyways.
Yeah. Then bye.
Yeah, bye.
Yeah.
Get you a real man or a real person. You're like, give me some of that.
Period blood also, like, there's so many stem cells in it. Like, I don't know if you guys have seen people, like, doing, like, period masks or anything like that. But, like, stem cell treatments are, like, tens of thousands of dollars. And, like, every month you're, like, shedding, like, massive amounts of stem cells. Oh my God. Because they would have been, like, preparing, like, potentially, like, a fertilized egg. So it's just, like, all this magic coming out of you.
Do they just, like, save it in their Diva cup and, like,
paint it on?
How
does it work?
I don't know.
That's
I've
a
never
good
done
idea,
it.
though.
working up to it.
Yeah, because this is also TMI, but there's a lot of stuff that comes out. It's not just, like, pure blood.
Yeah.
It's like...
Yeah.
Honestly, I think it's cool. Sometimes I'm like, that's kind of like, we can cut this part out. But, like, when I'm in the shower, just because, like, I'm, like, not grossed out, but, like, I want my bathroom to be clean. So when I'm on my period, I have my Diva cup, and, like, that's why I take, like, 70,000 showers. But I do it in the shower, and sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, I'll, like, look and be like, wow, that's a lot, and, like, pour it down the drain. So I'm like, this is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Kind of cool stuff in there. What's going on?
Yeah. I like the Diva cup too because you actually see how much you're bleeding.
Yeah.
Which, like, a lot of women bleed, like, a ton, and I'm like, oh, like, that's not normal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I talk about this in my course, but if you are iron deficient, you actually bleed more, which is, like, a really unfortunate catch-22 that a lot of women get in. So they become iron deficient, then they have, like, massive blood loss. But when you're on the Diva cup, you actually, like, see how much you're menstruating, and you can kind of track it. So it's really nice. It, like, connects you more to your, like, what's happening, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I like it too because then I can see when I'm, like, done. Like, I'm like, oh, okay, this is the end of it.
Mm-hmm. Like,
plus,
by how much blood there's left.
Yeah, or like what the contents or like the change of, like, color or thickness or something like that. I've, like, been able to, like, tell just by my own, like, investigation.
You also can get a lot of good information about, like, how your hormones are by, like, the texture and the quality and the color of your blood too.
It's just, like, so much around it. Mm-hmm. So I, again, still want to go back to sex. What are your
I love it.
What are your, like, advice, and what are the other options, just because I'm very ignorant around it, for having safe sex, obviously, besides using a condom when you're not on birth control? Like, I've heard of like the spermicides and things like that. Like, is it just like pull out game? What's going on?
Yeah, honestly, so I am really mindful to have like full-blown intercourse like around the days that I'm ovulating.
Gotcha.
So that's like the biggest thing that I do. Like, you can totally do other things,
right?
Yeah, that aren't like potentially
going to
like
lead into
fulfilling
a
your
pregnancy.
body's like desire to get pregnant, because like when you're ovulating too, like your cervical mucus changes, which is like another way you can kind of track to see if you're ovulating. It looks like it changes from like regular discharge that you would have. It becomes like egg white consistency. I'm doing this because you can literally like
squeeze, like it stays together. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
It's called spin barket mucus, and it's like a sperm highway.
Oh, fun. Thanks.
So like, yeah. So if I'm not ovulating, then I'm much less like concerned about it, or like the days around ovulation, because I think sperm can live for like 3 to 5 days or something. So like, on like the app that I have, it gives you like a window of like plus or minus this amount of days, like you're in like the red zone. So like, be careful.
Oh.
And then like other than that, I'm in like the green zone. So I actually, can I say this? I don't really like condoms. So
I don't think
I just like don't
does.
feel good.
We have them.
Literally, we try to remember. We've only guests have taken those.
Yeah, they just. I mean, I guess I've been with the same person for like a really long time. Yeah. So, but. Yeah, I think having some sort of like barrier method, if it was like around the time where you feel like you potentially could get pregnant, or like you don't know when you're ovulating, like condoms are really nice because they like add an extra thing for you.
Protection,
yeah, an extra layer of protection. That's what I was looking for with the word thing. The spermicide
what is a spermicide? That's the thing.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, but I think it's like and my mom has told me about this too. It's like the injection that you do like 30 minutes before, or like a cream or something, and then that you have sex, and it's supposed to like literally kill everything in there. What are your thoughts on that? Is it just like another shitty thing that you're shoving in your body?
Probably. I feel like I can't speak super intelligently on it because I've never like used a spermicide. I did have a friend that had a diaphragm, and she would squeeze the stuff onto the diaphragm and then like put it up. That just felt like a lot of work to me.
Yeah.
And I'm like such a sensitive person that I feel like my vaginal canal probably wouldn't want spermicide in it. Yeah. Just like anything that ends in a side is not generally like not the best. So yeah, those are my thoughts on that.
Okay.
There's probably a lot more we could talk about in terms of sex.
I'm sure. I love.
Well, let's pause and then
take a break.
Okay.
Erica's obsessed with their paws.
Their paws are so cute. They're just there.
I literally, one time I was sitting outside on the just like working, and I looked over at Bash and I just started crying.
Or her paws were like crossed like this. It was her back ones.
It was so cute.
I love when they lay in between their paws.
Oh.
I don't know if they ever do that.
Bash crosses. Bash is like this. For me, it's her butt. Like, I can't with her butt. I just want to like...
Her little nubby tail.
Yes. She's like, wiggle, 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 wiggle.
Dogs are great.
The dogs are so great.
So happy to live with them.
Oh, yeah.
It was great. I got my best friend and 2 dogs.
Boom. You're welcome.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Except for
what a move.
They're crazy. I know. You went from by yourself to 3 other people, like 3 other living things.
I just looked at us in the mirror and had like a moment of like, oh my gosh, there's 3 other people in there.
The mirror is a bit much. But
I'm not a fan.
I think it's fine when we have the table over there. Like, you don't really... I don't notice it as much.
That's where the table lives.
Yeah. Ellie was like, we'll put like a tapestry up, and I was like,
no, we don't need to do all that. I was like, okay.
I mean, folding mirrors are nice.
Yeah.
Just like a surprise mirror.
Like a carnival, right? Yeah. Like, oh my god.
Did you have more sex questions?
I think that like answers my question. I think it's just overall what I'm getting is everybody's different. So like the whole don't say should. Everybody's going to react and experience the whether you are on or off differently. And I just think like my concerns with like sex off of birth control, I'll not really know until I've been off of it and I'm doing the things that are needed and getting on those apps. The right apps.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like health in general. It's why I feel like I'm moving away a little bit from like the clinical piece and more into like an emotional mind body medicine piece, is because I just feel like everyone is so different. People always will be like, well, what do you do for depression? And I have to be like, well, it depends on like that person. Like they might be magnesium or B12 deficient. They might be in a toxic partnership or like not have any like community or, you know, so it just like totally depends. And I feel like the menstrual cycle, it's the same thing. Like there's these like overarching themes as far as what your body wants to be doing during the phases, the way that birth control works. And then there's like you and you're like a complete individual in the whole process. So it could be that you come off and it's like not a thing at all. Your sex increases like 1,000-fold and you're like,
loving it.
What am I like doing my whole life? So it's possible.
I just feel very disconnected. And Erica and I've used this word multiple times where I just feel like I don't have any connection to my body. And so like all of these things are happening externally and the way that I'm dealing with it are now like rising in anxiety and depression. And I'm feeling so like I can't even do the basic things that I was able to do like a year ago. Why is this? Why can't I handle it? And I think what I've been like just really feeling like in my inner self, like my inner like talk to myself is just like, you are on something that is really like just completely flatlining you. And so you haven't even been able to experience yourself. Like you don't know who you are yet. And I feel like, especially being in my 20s, is that like I don't know, like the whole point is like finding yourself. And it's like, how can I find myself and what I like and all aspects of me when I'm like taking something that literally I feel like it kills it, like it's killing me. And I'm just like, I'm over it. I want it done.
That was beautiful.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
Oh, guys, stop. I know you're like looking at me like, yes.
No, that was just, I like how you put that. And I like how you put that before she said that. I'm just happy to be surrounded by you both.
Oh,
this is great.
love that. Strong women talking about how to be strong women. I love it.
It's also wild, like the 180 that you take where you're like, oh God, my period's coming, to like when you come off of birth control and you're like, my period came
yes.
all by itself. Like, you're just like, oh my God, like our friend that came off when she got her period, she like texted all of us.
Yes.
Like, I got my first period.
It's a celebration for sure.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I know we're having like a very good feel-good moment, but I wanted to ask about endometriosis.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have it, but I'm like the cramping and like how painful it is for me. I'm like, I should probably figure out if I do. But is there like a natural way to cure it, or like how do you deal with that?
Yeah. So they're in the natural medicine realm. They're like really hesitant to use the word cure because of the same bioindividuality discussion that we were having earlier. Like if something cured something, then like you could take this for that, and people have different experiences. Yeah. But yes, the like natural medicine realm does really wonderful things with endometriosis. I'm looking at this book as I'm speaking with you because I think she has a whole chapter in there devoted to it. But I think about it as a condition of inflammation and also estrogen dominance. So estrogen dominance is like a popular term, I feel like, nowadays, because a lot of people have it because they're not making progesterone, because they're not ovulating. But also you can have, so I think I said this in the course, but you can have, I look at estrogen and progesterone in relationship to one another. So you can have a teeny amount of progesterone and a normal amount of estrogen, and you would have like relative estrogen dominance. Or you can have like sky high estrogen and a normal amount of progesterone and still have estrogen dominance, if that makes sense, because it's always relative. Or you can have like a double whammy where you have like sky high estrogen and like undetectable levels of progesterone kind of thing. And then in those cases, I see a lot of like fibroids, endometriosis, severe PMS, or like PMDD, which is like severe form of PMS, like, and then like severe cramping, breast tenderness, things like that.
Yeah.
So what do you do?
Yeah. So So as like a very like broad sweep, I would say like all of the foundations I would want to make. I would want to make sure you're sleeping all the time. I would want to make sure that your blood sugar is stable. This is like a big one that I'm like kind of coming out in my own healing, is I'm looking at getting a continuous glucose monitor so that I can see how my metabolism is throughout the day. Because if you're really stressed, and that could be like stress from not getting sleep, or it could be stress from like an argument or something, your blood sugar will like kind of spike, and that can cause inflammation. So that would be like low-hanging fruit that I would start with, is like addressing stress, addressing potential estrogen dominance. There are things that you can do for like symptom management, like supplements that can help like relax cramping, that can help promote detoxification of estrogen specifically. I think I talked about this in the course, but like for instance, cow dairy promotes histamine, which promotes estrogen. So like especially like in the week or so, like around your cycle, when you start to notice those symptoms, I would just be really mindful about like eating things that are easy for your body to digest, like removing like maybe gluten and dairy, potentially alcohol, like before that, and just like see how that changes your symptoms. Yeah,
there's a lot of things.
Yeah, like if your body is magnesium deficient, it can look like many different things. It can look like anxiety, it can look like cramping, it can look like high blood pressure, it can look like even like vitamin D deficiency. So like there are like nutrients that I talk about too in terms of just like supporting that. I really like, then there's also the things that I do for like symptom management, which isn't my like goal, but it plays a big role. So I really like cramp bark. That's like the common name for a plant named viburnum. That's the Latin name, and it's like a smooth muscle relaxer. So it helps like smooth out like spasmodic contractions that are happening in the uterus. And topically, I really like castor oil, which absorbs through the dermis of your skin because it has a high molecular weight, and then it's anti-inflammatory, and it also is anti-pain. So like that's what I use, is like cramp bark and castor oil like on my stomach. If
both is like topical.
Cramp bark is a tincture, like you put in a small amount of water and you can drink it like every like 2 to 4 hours or so. And then castor oil you use topically.
Okay.
And actually I have people use castor oil on like arthritic joints and things like that, like anywhere that needs good support.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Our whole bodies.
Everything.
Yeah. I honestly,
breaking down.
my ND, when I started seeing her, was like, I want you to put castor oil from your collarbones to your pelvis like 4 nights a week for the next like month. And I was like, okay. So now all my t-shirts have become castor oil t-shirts. That's fine. But yeah, so I mean, endometriosis is something too that like it really ranges as far as like people's symptoms. I actually used to think that I had it because my cramps were so severe, and then I was really shocked to like get off my IUD and be like, oh, I'm okay.
Yeah,
like they're not so bad as I thought.
It's gonna be fine.
Yeah, because like the gold standard for diagnosis is like a surgical procedure where they can do it laparoscopically, but they go in and they like look to see if there's any like, what endometriosis is like the inside of your uterus, your endometrium growing on places like outside of it, so like in your abdominal cavity. So like you have such bad symptoms because it's like wherever you have it is also experiencing like the hormonal shifts.
Ouch.
That's wild.
That is.
I hope I don't have that.
I'm honestly like in awe. Like I'm just like, oh, this is like information.
So much in your brain.
Honestly, I know. I was literally thinking about that too. I was like, wow, she just has that up in there. It's crazy. Just floating.
Floating somewhere in there.
I'm like, I want to know like what questions I should ask because I'm sure you have something to say, but I don't even know what to ask.
It's like, yeah, I don't even know.
Do you have anything you want to ask or share or anything you were
No, you guys have been doing really good asking all the tough questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
We tried.
We did. I'm interested. I'm like, okay, well, you're going to be my new doctor now, so I'll be making an appointment.
Yeah, you guys know where I live. We can have like, honestly, I feel like even just talking about it like this is such a service for people because people don't even realize that they have like potential to have this like connection to themselves, that they're not broken, that their body's just trying to speak with them. I feel like that about symptoms as a whole is like they're just your body like telling you in some way that you're not in alignment.
Yeah.
And if you like keep that perspective, then it's a lot less shitty.
Yeah.
So it feels a lot less.
Even while you're speaking, it's just like when you're talking about how it's, you know, first saying it's preventative and how you don't want like the cure isn't like this equals this or this takes away this, and how everybody's different. It's just a good reminder, because even still, like, hearing that, it's hard to be like, it's almost trial and error, where it's like, let's get off this and see if this works, and if this is helping, okay, it's not that, it's this. And like, yes, blood tests and things like that can help, but at the same time, like you were saying, is I'm a full person dealing with a lot of things that may or may not be similar to you or and to her and all of these other people, and that everybody's different. But because of the healthcare system in the US and in Western countries, is it's very much like, treat this, you have this, then do this, and this is this. And so it's hard, like, it's nice to be reminded of, you don't fit in this box. Just because you have this issue doesn't mean this is gonna fix it, because people may be like, well, I've been taking this medicine or this pill to fix this for years and years, and it's still not getting better. So it's nice to have a reminder that's accessible to people who listen to our podcast, as like,
who follow Amy.
Yeah, exactly, follow Amy, who like, you don't fit in that box, and there's so many other things that could help you that we can try. You just don't know about it yet. So it's just that access is great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thanks for
thanks for sharing
Thanks for like asking me all the questions.
Yeah.
It's so good. Oh, also fish oil. I was just thinking. Sorry.
So
still thinking of your
fish
question.
oil.
Endometriosis. Sorry. Yes, like that was so beautiful. And also fish oil.
Wait, we were actually talking about fish oil the other day.
We were. What were we talking about? Oh, the burps.
Burps.
Yeah, they're
Burps
not.
are so bad.
They're not. Yeah. I have heard companies say that if you're burping fish oil, it's like not good fish oil. But then I've taken theirs and I've still had the burps.
Okay.
But they're really good for any sort of like acute inflammatory thing or chronic inflammatory thing. I actually probably wouldn't want to use it acutely.
Yeah. I took them because when I went to the eye doctor when I was younger, they told me that, like, from what I remember, they told me it was basically like I wasn't producing enough, like,
Fish oil in your eyeballs?
like tears. I don't know what tears are made of. Like, I wasn't producing enough liquid in my eyes.
To cry.
And they
So they gave me fish oil.
like to take by mouth?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's what I remember, but maybe I'm remembering it wrong.
No,
Because
I
I
mean,
just
that
remember
kinda
being
makes
alarmed
sense.
that I was like,
Not.
I can't cry. I feel like I have a lot of
So
emotions.
sad.
I don't know.
That's funny.
Weird. Okay, before you like plug yourself, I want to ask fun, like, not period questions.
Okay, yeah. I love not period.
Like, quickly. What are you reading right now?
Oh gosh. I'm reading like a couple different books. So I'm reading so many books. I'm reading the book Come As You Are. Have you
I've
guys
heard
of
of that one. I haven't read it yet.
It's good. I keep
That's
getting like a quarter of the way through.
Doyle? No.
It's Emily N.
I have it in my books.
Yeah,
to
she
read.
has a Netflix series too. I'm also reading Heart Minded by Sarah Blondin, which I would highly recommend her in all capacity. She's amazing to listen to, and her book is good. And
Okay, current favorite snack.
current favorite snack. I'm really into this hummus right now.
I love that that's your answer.
And I like it with really anything that I can dip in, and I try to do like celery, but ends up being a lot of like tortilla chips.
Yeah. Where do you get it? What is it?
People's, and I don't actually know the name. I can just picture the label. It has like this little garlic man on, like little garlic guy.
I think I've bought.
Majestic.
They have like pickled garlic or pickled olives with like garlic in them. I think
Maybe.
it's so good. If it's the same brand.
It's really good. They have them at the OB Farmers Market on Wednesdays. Oh, it's so good.
Love
Yeah.
it.
It's so easy to make your own hummus. I feel like I just need to start doing that more.
Oh my
Such a
gosh.
good
I've
snack.
never made my own hummus.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel like it's easy to make a lot of things that I'm like,
Not
I'm
gonna.
just not gonna do that.
Yeah. Those are good. Wait, ask more.
Okay. Favorite song
Favorite song?
at the moment or ever.
Wow, I feel like it depends on my mood. I've really been into the song Higher Love, Whitney Houston and Kygo.
Oh, that's.
wow.
I actually love that remix.
It's so good. I just listened to it on the way here to pump me up.
Aw.
At this Joe Dispenza I was Oh my gosh.
It happens to us literally all the time.
Like my mouth is like way ahead of my brain. He played it, and I like now that song is like imbued with like that vibe.
Oh, I love that.
That's so good.
Yeah.
How was that retreat?
I feel like we could have like a whole recording.
I bet it looked
just like fucking insane, and also like so beautiful to see like 2,000 people to come together with just like
2,000 people. Whoa.
I think you're thinking of the Costa Rica.
Oh,
this is another thing.
This is another
She
thing.
does a lot of really cool
Okay,
retreats.
I was about to be like 2,000 people went to Costa Rica.
No, that was
How did I
like
not know
12.
about this? Okay,
Yeah, that was also
great.
I'll
Okay,
have to tell you about that experience.
Okay.
I told her about my epiphany.
oh, love it.
Yeah.
Two different retreats. Got it.
That was amazing. Yeah, just so nice to be like disconnected from everything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We need that. A reset. Okay, I have one more. Favorite or current show that you're watching or movie or favorite if you're not watching anything.
We're watching The Last of Us right now. Have you guys watched that?
It's on our list.
It's on the list. I'm in Game of Thrones land
Oh,
now.
yeah.
She's behind the times. I'm trying to help her.
I'm making that face at you because I remember you guys were in season 3, right? And you were talking to me about how much.
I don't know where we are.
We're
now.
on season 6 now.
Oh, okay. You were talking about how much
there.
you loved Rob Stark, and I was like, ooh.
Yeah, I know. She hated it.
That's a heavy hitter.
After that, what is it? The Blood Wedding?
Yeah, the Red
The
Wedding.
Red Wedding.
I was literally like, I don't want to watch
Yeah.
this show anymore.
Yeah. Have you watched all of it? They're like literally a few episodes before Jon Snow dies. She was like, if Jon Snow dies, I'm not watching the show anymore. And I was like, you just trust me. Can you just trust me? And then after the episode, she's like, I'm done. I'm like, just sit down and watch the damn show.
All the people are dying.
He comes back.
We're all confused about how he came back, but he does come
Yeah,
back.
he comes back some fucking way and whatever.
So weird.
Yeah, that's what.
The Last of Us, you like it?
Last of Us, I honestly, like, I watched 2 episodes and I was like, never gonna watch this again. And then everyone was like, you have to watch episode 3.
That's the sad one.
Which is, it was like really heartfelt. Ron Swanson's in it.
Ron
Parks and Rec.
Swanson? He's in The Last of Us?
Yeah, it's a weird, it's a weird little surprise, but
Okay.
it was a good episode. So now we're fully in it. Now we're caught up.
Invested.
Love it.
Yeah.
I have like a deeper question to end.
Yeah,
It's not
close
as
it
fun
out.
as yours, but I just like, if you could baseline teach everyone something, or like, it's like, so I'm butchering this, but like have people follow like one rule or something that you wish everybody would know, what would it be? Out of all of the things that like you believe in and that you think like help people, what is your like one thing that you would want?
That's such a beautiful question. I feel like I would love for everyone to just get curious about their bodies, yes, but just in general. Like, I think curiosity is such a powerful force for change and good in our world. And if we got curious about what our bodies were telling us, as opposed to like resisting or resenting it, I think we would have a whole different healthcare system, but really world.
Yeah. I loved that. I'm thinking of like, that is so true. It is like just shoving it down, but becoming more curious. That was really beautiful. Thank you.
Asking questions instead of like making it stop. Like if we're talking about periods. 'Cause I feel like that's what I've done for my whole life.
Definitely.
Same. Yeah.
Or like the one solution that I hear is the one I'm going to follow because that's what I have right now. Instead of like that constant investigation and moving forward to figure out what fits me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it puts you back in like the driver's seat as opposed to like, oh, like I need this thing to make me feel suboptimal.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
Beautiful.
Well, where can people find you? Plug your course, plug all the things.
Yeah, so my doctor Instagram, which I need to get better about posting on that. I'm just not a social media gal.
I love all the things.
I know. I was looking at it before. I was like, wow, this is so like pleasing to look at. It's beautiful.
Thanks. It's Dr.Amy Tarquini. And then my course, I was going to do another one in spring, but there's some like stuff that's coming up, so it might end up being in the summer. But you can get on if you go to my Instagram, there's a link tree, and then there's like a wait list option on there. But yeah, that'll either come spring or summer, and it's like a 6-week course, and it's truly lovely. We get to talk about all the stuff in a lot of detail. So.
And people can sign up for your newsletter and the blog and all that stuff, which I just now started.
Yeah, getting into the newsletters. So that's a good place to like stay in contact too. And I try to do a blog like once a month, but
love it.
You know.
Yeah, no,
you got a lot on your plate.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Well, thanks for sharing your time with us.
Yes.
This is so amazing.
Thanks for inviting me on here. I'm truly honored.
We're honored to have you and like have you as a guest. It's been on our minds, and I think like that's what we want to do is like give access to people at the end of the day, whether it's like our bullshit ideas that are coming out or like really serious things. So we appreciate you coming out.
Yeah, thanks.
Yay.
Thanks for letting me be here.
Yeah.
So
and
good.
You guys know where to follow us and subscribe, wow, and do all the things.
Our plugs are never good.
Yeah. Literally never. I can never talk. We can never say the right thing. It's fine.
Because you were like, what are your plugs? And I was like, what are my plugs?
I don't know. It was great. We love you guys.
We love you guys. Bye.